Great, thank you, John. Welcome, everybody. Presentation on cybersecurity, keeping yourself safe online. And as a little added bonus, we're going to talk a little bit about romance scams. Probably, well, not probably, according to the experts, probably it's the largest scam, the largest money-making scam in 5 states, including the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well, since we're now past Valentine's Day, but still love is still in the air, so to speak. But starting with cybersecurity, keeping yourself safe online. As John said, my name is George Dillman. I'm the Consumer Outreach Specialist with the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. So what is cybersecurity? I think we all know this. Doesn't hurt to cover it. Cybersecurity is keeping everything you do on the internet safe so that no one can steal your information for their own gain. Again, I think we know this, but again, doesn't hurt to rehash it a little bit. Why is cybersecurity important? Whether you use the internet all the time or on occasion, keeping yourself protected is important. And this is what we're going to be talking about today in this portion of the presentation. Safe web browsing, online shopping, mobile devices, strong passwords, social media, and identity theft. So first, let's start with a clean slate. We want to use the most recent versions of browsers and operating systems. We want to keep our antivirus and other software up to date as well. As these things become older, they become more vulnerable to cyber attacks. So we need to keep them updated on a regular basis. A lot of our devices, in fact, maybe all of our devices now, we can set up automatic updates. I think I have that on all of my computing devices, and it's good to do that. Whether we have it set up automatically or we do it manually, we want to keep these devices up to date on a regular basis, because again, as they get older, they get more vulnerable to cyber attacks. Safe surfing, encrypted websites versus unencrypted websites. HTTPS instead of HTTP. We go to a website, say we're on one of our favorite big box retailer websites. We're doing some shopping. We go to the site, and up in the web address, we should see http:// www. And then whatever the actual address is for the big box retailer we're going on. We're going around, we're shopping around, we put a couple things in our basket, we go to check out. We're now going to exchange some sensitive information with that company. On that page, rather than HTTP, we should now see HTTPS. The S stands for secure. We need to, when we see that S, we know that everything that we're exchanging at that point is now safe and secure. In fact, a lot of sites now, more and more, and some of the bigger, like retailers or other companies I'm going on to, it looks like they're automatically secure. You'll automatically see that HTTPS, which is a good thing, meaning everything that you're doing now is secure or should be secure as far as what you're doing on that website. Sometimes we'll also see that little padlock on the right-hand side. So, certainly look out for that, especially when it comes time to exchanging that sensitive information. Check the privacy policy. Companies should have it. Should be found somewhere on a website. May have to look for it a little bit, but that basically tells you, how that company collects your information, stores your information, and keeps that information secure, securely stores it, as well as whether they're selling it to third parties or not. And a lot of times we'll see this now. Companies that want to make sure that we know they're not selling our information on to third parties, and they'll let us know that at somewhere. Review the trust seal. A lot of times you'll see that red shield with the white check mark on it, basically meaning this is a trusted site. It's not always given out for that reason, but a lot of times it is. So a lot of times, when you see that shield, it should mean that site is safe and secure, and maybe has a good privacy policy, a good secure privacy policy in place to keep your information safe and secure. Clear your browser history. We want to check our browser for instructions. Each browser is going to be different. A lot of times it starts with settings, and maybe once we go through settings, one or two clicks, and we're to our browsing history. Every page that we go on, there's like a snapshot of that page kept, and we can go into our history and see every page going back, with information on, including information that we've exchanged. We can and we should clear out those browsing histories on a regular basis. If somebody does happen to break into our computer, that's one source that they can use to get our information and to use it against us. So it's recommended we clear out those browsing histories every so often. Using Wi-Fi safely at home and in public. At home, be sure to keep your router secure with a strong password, and do not share that password with just anybody. Now, again, that could be a no-brainer. Oh no, George, I'm going to give my password out to every stranger that passes by. No, but even with people that we know, I also conduct a presentation on avoiding scams and identity theft. And I mentioned that presentation that a lot of times it's the people that are closest to us that will steal our identity and use it against us. Family members, friends, coworkers, somebody who has access to our information. So, along those lines, we want to be careful with who we share our passwords with, and other important information. In public, using public Wi-Fi can be risky. Avoid financial and personal transaction. A lot of these public Wi-Fi systems have little to no security. So we have to be very careful in using them. Now, in a later slide, we're going to talk about how we can certainly avoid that. Password do's and don'ts. We're going to start with password don'ts. On this page is a password that is still commonly used. No matter how many times we hear not to use this password, it's still one that's commonly used. What is the password? Password or password one. Other commonly used passwords are QWERTY, which is the top row of keys on a keyboard, ABC 1 2 3, sequential numbers, and other things such as names, birth dates, phrases, or other easy to guess words. We certainly want to stay away from. And here's an example. Say I have a cat. My cat's name is Princess Fluffy, and I love my Princess Fluffy. I'm always talking about her to all my friends. I'm posting pictures of her on social media, so all 6,000 of my friends, and you can't see me, but I'm doing friends with the finger quotes, because how many of us really have that many friends? A lot of times these so-called friends are scammers that are friending us and other people looking to get information from us. So we have to be careful with that. So, again, I'm always bragging about Princess Fluffy on the social media sites, posting pictures. So the last thing I want to do, when I create a password, is use Princess Fluffy or Princess Fluffy 1. What we do want to do, first of all, the longer the better. Experts say we should make our passwords at least 8 to 10 characters. We should use capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and even non-alphanumeric characters like pound signs and exclamation points. And we want to change our passwords, especially to our most vulnerable accounts, on a regular basis. We need to keep them updated. I had a situation once where, because the longer they sit out there, the longer somebody has to figure those passwords out. I had a password that I used at one time, and I used that password for every site that I went on to, which is another thing we should do. We want to use a different password for each site that we go on to, because if somebody does figure out our password, well, now they have our password for every site that we go on because we're using the same one. But somebody contact me at some point. This password that I used, a couple years prior to getting this email, I stopped using that password. I started using different passwords on different sites. I started changing my passwords, and I got away from that password. But at some point, somebody got a hold of me, basically trying to extort money from me. And they said, "Oh, here's your password." And they had it printed right there. The password that I thought would never be figured out, somebody somehow got it and sent it to me, and looking to get, again, looking to extort money from me, because what else do we have on you, and what else were you going to do? Well, little do they know I wasn't using it anymore. But bottom line is, they can figure these out. So we want to change those passwords on a regular basis. Our email password may be the most important, so we need to keep them changed. I love this slide. A coworker of mine updated this presentation for us, and she created this new slide on creating strong passwords. And I love this slide, and it just shows how we can take a weak password and make it a very strong password. On the left-hand side and right in the middle, I'm going to use the word password as it's normally spelled, or how we could normally spell it, with a capital P, and the rest of the word is lowercase. Very risky, very easy for somebody to figure out. But we go to the better option, the better password. Password one. In this case, the one is put in front of the word password, and we have a small p, a small a. We're using 2 capital S's rather than lowercase. Word is all lowercase, and we have an exclamation point at the end. If we're still trying to memorize it, we're still using password one, but we changed it up a little bit. We made it harder for somebody to be able to figure it out. Then we go to the best option on the right-hand side. And as you can see, we're using the number 1. We're using a lowercase p. We're using the @ sign rather than an A, but it still looks like an A, right? But we're using the @ sign. We're using 2 $ rather than capital S's, but again, we're trying to memorize it. It still looks like capital S's. We're using a lowercase w, a 0 rather than an O, lowercase r, a capital D, and an exclamation point. Again, we're still using password one, but we've made it very difficult now for somebody to figure out. We can do these with all kinds of different words, names and birth dates, and then we just change them up it makes it very difficult for somebody to figure out, and maybe easy for us to still memorize them. Choosing security questions, same thing as passwords. We want to stay away from the easily figured out security questions. We want to stay away from, like our mother's maiden name, our pet's name, right? Security question: what's your favorite pet's name? Well, everybody knows my favorite pet's name is Princess Fluffy. So very easy to figure out. So, use security questions that would be very difficult for somebody to figure out. Create your own questions if you can. Some sites are now allowing you to create your own questions. I've often suggested, or I suggest in these presentations, that maybe we use security questions, but we use security questions, but maybe nonsensical answers to those security questions. Then nobody would be able to figure them out. And here's the example: mother's maiden name, Blue Tricycle 29. Well, my mother's maiden name is not Blue Tricycle 29, and it would be very difficult for somebody to figure that out. And then, so I use that. I do those nonsensical answers for all my security questions. I just keep them in a safe place, along with my passwords that I create, my different passwords for each site. By the way, we can use password managers on our computing devices, and these password managers can store, manage, and even create strong passwords for us if we want to do that. I'm a big believer in the old-fashioned pen and paper. I keep them all written down along with my security answers, and I keep them in a nice, safe place to refer to when I need to. Phishing emails. Don't open it. Do you know the sender? Check the grammar and spelling. When in doubt, delete it. At one time, we got a lot more emails, where it looked, the email almost looked like they tried to look professional, and it almost looked like a third grader had written the email. Poor grammar, poor spelling, no capital letters where there should be capital letters, so on and so forth. Scammers have come a long way since then. They've become a lot smarter, a lot more sophisticated, a lot more intelligent, a lot better at creating very professional looking emails. That can and maybe that match companies that we're already dealing with. For example, my local bank, the bank that I bank with, right? Very easy for somebody to use Photoshop, copy and paste, and they make this email that looks official, looks like it came from my bank. And I get an email from Susie at my local bank, which is your bank, and their web address is yourbank.com. So I get an email from Susie at yourbank.com, and hello, Mr. Dillman. We're updating our records, and I just need to confirm some information with you, or we just need to confirm your information with you. Can you hit this link and go to the next page? And on that page, I'm going to need you to confirm all your information so we can keep our records up to date. So I go to the next page and I confirm my name, my address, my telephone number, social security number, date of birth, all my bank account information, everything that somebody would need to steal my identity and or to steal my information, use it against me to get into my account. The email says it came from Susie at my local bank, but how do I really know? It says it's from her, but we don't know. So we have to be careful with these things. We have to be careful who we get emails from. The attachments that we get along with those emails, we hit an attachment or even a link, and without knowing it, we download malicious software to our computer that allows some cyber criminal to come in, or maybe come in later without us knowing about it, coming in a later date to take whatever they want off of our computer. So we have to be careful. Maybe reach out to someone by telephone to see if they actually sent this information, just to be sure. Or we get an email from a friend of ours, and they want us to open up an attachment. Hey, take a look at this. Tell me what you think about it. Oh, hey, this is my friend John, and it came from John. So how do we know if somebody didn't hack into John's email account, maybe very easily, and is reaching out to all of John's contacts? And now I open this attachment, and once again, I have some malicious software being downloaded to my computer. So we have to be careful. We want to check it, make sure that they did come from where they say they came from. Another thing that we can do when we get emails, or even going to websites, is this thing called the hovering technique. There's my arrow. Where's my arrow? There's my arrow. Everyone sees my arrow at the top of the screen. So what you're doing is you're going to hover. You're not going to click on the email address, but with your arrow, you're going to hover over top of the email address. And in that email address, we see where the email says it came from. We hover over that email address, and a box should pop up, and in that box could be additional information plus the email address where it actually came from. Now, in that scenario with Susie at your bank, I see it came from Susie at yourbank.com. I hover over Susie's email address, and I look in the box. Oh, okay, this came from Susie at yourbank.com. But in another scenario, I hover over that email address, and it says it came from Susie at yourbank.com. But in the box that pops up, it says Johnny Scammer at scammersrus.com. I'm being a little silly, but I think everyone knows where I'm going with this. Where if it's a different email address, be careful. In fact, probably delete it, because again, they want to hide where this email actually came from. We can do the same thing with websites. You say I get directed to a website, my favorite big box retailer website, website, and big sale, 50% off everything for the next 3 hours. Oh, wow, I better go. And I hit the link, I go to the website, and I'm shopping around, I'm putting stuff in the shopping cart, I check out, I give them all my information, only to find out at a later date, a later point, that it's a fake website that somebody set up to lure me and how many other people to. we could do the same thing. We get to that website, we hover over the web address, and rather than bigboxretailer.com, again, it says scammers in the box that pops up, it says scammersrus.com. So this is something we can do to be aware, of a fake email, fake website. We also have to be careful with those subtle differences. And again, here's the example with the email. I get that email from Susie at yourbank.com. I hover it, and her email address is all one word, yourbank.com. I hover over the email address, the box pops up. Okay, it says Susie at yourbank.com. Wait a second. In the box that popped up, it says Susie at your-bank.com. That one extra thing in there, that dash, makes the difference as to where it says it came from as to where it actually came from. So we have to look for those subtle differences as well. Maybe, and again, the same thing with the web address. Maybe the web address, we hover over it. Maybe in the web address, it's bigboxretailer.com, and in the actual web address, big box has 2 X's on it just to make it a little different. So we hover over it, pops up, okay, bigboxretailer.com. Oh, wait a second, there's only 1 X in the box, and the actual website, because I know this, has 2 X's. So again, they took away something. And again, that one subtle difference could be is the difference between where you think you're at versus where you're actually at. So to keep an eye out for that as well. Online shopping, familiar and reputable sites versus new websites. Obviously, the familiar, the reputable sites that we go to, certainly continue shopping. Maybe we want to do that hovering technique, even if it's just practice, to make sure we're on the actual site. New websites, certainly we want to look into before we use any new sites that we're not familiar with, because again, there's a lot of phony websites out there, not just people pretending to be actual sites, but creating phony websites to lure people to again, steal their information. Real life example. I used to use a website where you go to this website, and on this website, you can connect to all these retailers. You can link to their websites. And if you do that through this website, you get points. You can turn the points into prizes. I assumed that every retailer on that, and a lot of them were well-known retailers, Walmart, Target, Amazon, and so on and so forth. But then you had others that weren't so well-known, that weren't familiar. But I assumed that, and of course, we know what happens when you assume. But I assumed that they were all screened out. They were all legitimate sites, and I ended up being wrong. I found a website. A company I wasn't familiar with, but again, I assumed it was legit. I went to the site. I found the item that I wanted at a really good price. Of course, later on, I found out why it was a really good price, and I made my so-called purchase. A couple weeks later, I get contacted by the credit card company. Hello, Mr. Dillman. I'm calling from your credit card company. We just need to know, are you currently in Anchorage, Alaska, and did you purchase flowers for someone in Juneau, Alaska? No, I didn't, and I know the company we're calling about. Again, this was a fake website that was set up by some scammer to steal my information and other people's informations, and to use their credit card. So in that case, I got put in contact with the. I got put in contact with their fraud department. Most companies have them nowadays, and if we in a compromised situation like that, somebody whatever the company is, there's a loan that I have out, and I found out the loan was extended and an additional $10,000 was taken out, and I know I didn't do it. Same thing. But we reach out to the company where that compromise took place. The Federal Trade Commission tells us to do this, by the way. They say the first thing we should do is to reach out to the company where the compromise took place and start working with their fraud department to clear our names of in this case with the credit card, to cancel the card, get a new card issue, and issued and cancel any charges, including those lovely flowers I bought for somebody in Juneau, Alaska, off the card. Do we need to go through that hassle though? No. So before we use a site, let's do a little bit of research. Let's make sure the site is legit. Google the name of the company along with complaints or scams and see what if anything comes up. Read reviews, research through the Better Business Bureau, ask around, so on and so forth. Do our due diligence and make sure that a site is legit before we use it. And maybe one of the reasons why we want to use credit cards rather than debit cards. Credit cards or even those third parties like a PayPal type thing, where you have that buffer between you and the person that the money is actually going to. But credit card versus debit card, I hope nobody minds me using a gambling term, but with a credit card, we're kind of playing with house money, so to speak, until we actually pay the bill, until we actually get the bill and pay the bill. We haven't paid anything for it yet. With a debit card, it's almost like handing the cash over. Now, from what I've been hearing, it's been easy. People who use debit cards, it's been easier and easier to retrieve those funds that they've lost, but it still might be easier using a credit card versus a debit card with those purchases. Remember earlier tips about keeping devices safe, keep them updated, keep your website secure. Excuse me, and use strong passwords. And again, a separate password for every site that we go to. We use the same password. Somehow somebody does figure out that password. They now have our password for every site that we go to. Social media. Social media is big. It's getting bigger. It's here to stay. A lot of us are using social media. We just have to be careful. Staying safe while posting, liking, or sharing. Don't accept every friend request. Do any of us really need 6,000 friends? We have to be careful with just accepting any and all friend requests, because there are scammers out there that will pose as supposed friends to try to get information from us. Maybe try to trick us into giving them information. And here's an example. Hey friend, how you doing? Hey, when's your birthday? I want to send you an e-birthday card the next time it's your birthday. Oh, here you go, friend. Now I just gave somebody that I don't really know my date of birth. They already have my name. Maybe there's probably a good chance they have my address. Maybe they got that a couple months earlier. And at some point, they get enough information on me that they can use it against me. They can use to steal my identity, use to steal from me. So we have to be careful. Don't trust everything you see or every friend out there. Be careful with what you tell people. Consider the personal things you share on each platform. Got to be careful with that. Watch what you post. Everything you post could be permanent. It could be very difficult to get it unposted, if you will. Some sites we could probably reach out to them and see if they can't take that information off their site, but no guarantee. So we have to be careful with what we put out there, because it could become permanent. Disable GPS tags in photos you post. We go out someplace and I'm out at the Grand Canyon and I'm taking pictures of the Grand Canyon and posting them to social media right away. Little GPS tags, basically location, date, and time, where you're at. And if somebody's able to figure this out, they go online, they're able to find that GPS tag and figure it out. Oh, look at this. George is currently out at the Grand Canyon. He just posted these photos. And guess what? 6 months earlier, I found out where George lives. Maybe I'll pay him a visit while he's on his vacation. So we can disable those GPS tags. Again, different devices, there are probably going to be different ways to do it. Check with if you want to do it with your device, check with where you bought it from, where you got it from, or with the company it came from, to see how you can do that. Staying safe, think twice before downloading extras. These extras that I kind of talked about this a little bit back with the phishing emails, but these quizzes that we can download, these surveys that we can download and take, download our survey and get a $50 gift certificate to your favorite restaurant. third-party apps that we can download onto our devices. Experts say that more than 1/3 of these have malicious software attached to them. So as we're downloading that friendly quiz, that third-party app, or that friendly survey, back during the election, I remember I get not emails but text messages, because they're not just emails, but they're using text messages now to get information. And I had a number of these surveys. Who do you think should win? In this race, and yes or no. I deleted everyone. We want to be careful. If I don't know where it came from, I'm not answering, and I'm not doing anything with it. We have to be careful, because again, what could happen? So be careful with that. As I said, over more than 1/3 will have malicious software attached to it, and now I'm downloading it to my device without knowing, allowing somebody to be able to go in anytime they want to steal information. Keep personal information personal. Limit who can see your social media pages. We can put those blocking devices up. Now, certain people have access to certain places. Monitor virtual presence. Google yourself using different data combinations. See what is out there about you. If you're uncomfortable, investigate it. If you can find it, criminals can too. Mobile devices. More than 65% of Americans own a smartphone. These things are computing devices, just like everything else. We have laptops, tablets. These things are computing devices. These new phones, we have to treat them as such. We need to keep them locked. Again, just like our other devices, where you either need a PIN or a password to get into that device. We have our phone. We lay it someplace for a couple minutes. We forget about it. Somebody comes along and takes it. We don't have a password linked to it, or a PIN. They're able to go in and take what they want. So we need to be able to lock these devices with a PIN or a password. Keep them updated. Again, just like our other computing devices, we need to keep them updated. As things get old, as I mentioned earlier, they get easier to penetrate. So we want to watch out for that as well. Never text personal information. Consider what you keep, and if we do keep it, back it up to the cloud or to another device. Be careful with applications. We already talked about that. Third-party applications. Again, over more than 1/3 of them have malicious software. If we want to download a quiz, a survey, we want to download an application, let's do our due diligence. Look into the company before we do it. Make sure it is legit. And if we can't determine whether it's legit or not, better safe than sorry, as the old saying goes. But if we determine it's a legit site, then we can certainly trust to download what they have, like the application, that the app that we can download. Using unsecured Wi-Fi, enable secure or encrypted connections. As I said, more and more sites I'm going to, we automatically see that S for secure, meaning everything that's being exchanged now is secure. If we don't see it, some sites, or a lot of sites now, somewhere on the website, we're out at our favorite Wi-Fi hotspot, where the security is little to non-existent, and we can, if it's not automatically secure, we could maybe somewhere on that page we can find where we can make that secure, so that everything that we do, everything we can exchange is being exchanged securely. We don't have to worry about somebody taking it. There's also VPNs that we can download, virtual private networks that we could download to our computing devices and use, and we enable those, and it makes everything that we exchange with any site secure. Now, with those, there is a cost. There's a number of companies out there. If we're looking at doing that, especially if we use these Wi-Fi hotspots a lot, look into it. Check which one is good for you. I think there's a cost associated with at least most of them, if not all of them. But it's not a big cost. But it's another way that we can make sure what we're doing out in these places secure. Wipe your device before getting a new one. No matter how much deleting we do, no matter how much emptying of trash cans, I don't even know if they have that anymore, or how much browsing history we eliminate. I hear that on computing devices that all this information is still, compressed and stored someplace on those devices, and the right person would know where to go to retrieve that. So maybe we're exchanging our device for another one. Before we do it, we have them wipe that device clean so nobody can go in and find this information and use it. It's gone. It's really gone. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Cybersecurity Resource. By the way, notice HTTPS for secure. But this is a website that you can go through. It's created by the Commonwealth on cybersecurity. A lot of good information on this site. A lot of information that we've talked about or I have discussed in the presentation. There may be additional information on there for you to use. So I'm going to pause at this point for a minute or two. Let anybody who would like to copy down that web address, copy it down. And with that, we're going to move on to our added bonus for this presentation. I was asked to do a short presentation on a popular scam out there, very popular in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, romance scams. 5 states in the country, including the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, this is the largest money-making scam out there. And whether it's us or somebody we know that we need to keep an eye out for, we have to beware. We have to beware. Cyber criminals are going to, people who are looking for romance, and they know they're looking for romance and will do anything for the romantic partner, and they take advantage of that. So we're going to talk about what is a romance scam, the red flags we need to watch out for, and what to do if you become a victim. So a romance scam happens when the criminal creates a priority. My apologies. Creates a phony online presence to convince victims that they are in a close romantic relationship and ultimately separate them from their hard-earned money, which is the whole point, the whole reason for doing it, obviously. Dating platforms are a perfect place to meet new people, and they're all looking for a relationship. The criminal will seem to check all the boxes for the victim's liking. If they're looking for someone who's genuine and caring, that's how they're going to appear. They're looking for somebody who likes long walks, along the seashore, a romantic, a glass of wine while watching the sunset. They're going to appear to have the same thing. I kind of equate it. I've worked for the Commonwealth now for 15 and a half years. Before coming to work for the Commonwealth, I worked in sales and marketing. I worked in sales. And there's a sales technique that I was aware of. I never used, but I was aware of, called mirroring, where you mirror the customer that you're looking to sell to. If they talk low with a whispery voice, you lower your voice to a low whispery voice. If they use their hands a lot, you're using your hands a lot. If him and his wife love to golf. Oh, me and my wife love to golf too. And you talk about golf. It's all about appearing to be the same as the person you're looking to sell to. Because if they think you're like them, people tend to buy from people that they feel are like them. They trust them more. It's a trusting thing, that carries over to the scamming world as well. And this is one way where it carries over, where you appear to be what they're looking for because you want to be their perfect match, and that's part of the whole ruse, if you will. You may move from the online platform to a more direct contact, such as texting or maybe even actual calls, emailing, and then the sudden financial crisis that only you can help with. They do this, again, time is money for them because this is what it's about, either getting money from you or in some cases getting information, stealing your identity to get money from you. but it's all about getting that money from you as quickly as possible, separating you. So the romance happens quick. You make a few exchanges and they're madly in love with you, and you're the person they want to be with. You have that you have that emotional connection now, and then it's time to hit you up with that sudden financial crisis that only you can help them with. My mother just went into the hospital, and we don't have the funds. We don't have enough money for her to have this operation. As my new romantic partner, can you loan me the $1,000? That's all I need to help her out, and so on and so forth. That's just one scenario, and there's a number of others. Again, the conversation almost completely online, and it moves very quickly because, again, the time is money to them. It's not about romance. It's about separating you from your cash, from your money, as quickly as possible. There may be a local connection. Again, that connection that we have. Maybe I say I am local, but I had to move away because here's a red flag. One of the red flags is that they're never right down the street or in the next town or even in the next two towns where you could go meet them someplace mutual to have a cup of coffee, to meet, get to know each other, see if this is a good connection for both of you. They're always either in another state, or maybe they're working or traveling overseas. This is popular right now, where maybe I'm working. The gimmick is that I'm working as a government contractor, and I'm over in overseas, or maybe I'm doing volunteer work with maybe a Habitat for Humanity, and I'm in Uganda helping to build houses in villages. Where's the tugs at the how sweet they're doing this great volunteer work. Maybe I'm in the military. They come up with something as to why they're not local, why they can't meet you local, but they still might have that local connection. Maybe they've been to your area, they're originally from the area, so on and so forth. Again, for that connection, but now they're not. Now they're not. They're in another state. They're in another country for whatever reason. Their story is quite believable. Well, they become experts at this. I tend to think that scammers specialize in different things, and I think you have scammers that will specialize in the romance scams, and they come up with these great stories that are very believable, that tug at the heartstrings, and of course, again, the end result is to separate you from your cash, and as much cash as they can separate you from. Romance scams, you meet online, instant deep love, right? After a few exchanges, they're madly in love with you. You're the person they want to be with, and then they get you committed emotionally, and then the sudden emergency, and they need the money immediately. Oh my God, can you wire me the money? Or can you go get a gift card and read the number off the back of the gift card? I can get the funds that way. And that's what it's about, to get that cash as quickly as possible, before we have time to think, before we change our minds, so on and so forth. So protect yourself. Search your new love's picture. There's several ways that we can, you get a photo from somebody. There's several ways we can tell what this is an actual authentic picture or not. I have information on that. If anybody would like that information, certainly reach out to John. John can get a hold of me, and I can send that information. Google does a thing on their website with a reverse image search, where you can search these images and maybe find out it's just some stock photo someplace that somebody used, and it's been used several different places for several different things, and guarantee that it's a made up, that the person that you're talking to is all made up. Check their story before you get too deep into this new relationship. Can we do a back search? Oh, okay, you see, oh wow, that's great, you're doing volunteer work in Uganda for Habitat with Humanity, and you're doing this, that, and the other thing. Maybe we can check with contact Habitat with Humanity, or wherever the story leads us, to confirm the story is real or not. Most importantly, meet in person, meet in real life. And if they can't do it, Oh, I'm sorry, I'm overseas for the next 6 months. Well, you know what? Hey, when you're back in the States and you're back in the area, reach out to me and we can get together at a nice, safe place, of course, for me especially. And we can meet and have a cup of coffee, have lunch or whatever, and then we can discuss a relationship. Because again, they don't want to meet in real life. Big red flag. Big red, and of course they can't because they're in another state, they're overseas, but you're the person that they want to be with. You're the person they're madly in love with. Don't share compromising pictures. I think we know where that's going. Can they use that to extort money out of us? We send them compromising pictures of ourselves, and most of all, do not send money. Do not send money. Even God, how many people get into so-called legitimate relationships? They meet somebody online, they meet in person, they go out, they're together, and next thing you know, their so-called love interest is hitting them up for money for this, that, and the other thing. But especially with somebody we haven't met in person, we've only met online. Do not send money. It can be very difficult to get that money back. Uh, and if we do, there's some steps we can take. May not help. So again, be careful. I do a presentation called "Avoiding Scams and ID Theft," and in that presentation, I talk about at some point. I talk about how once we hand that money over. I mean, it's like with the debit card. Once that money gets handed over, it could be gone forever. It could be very difficult, especially if this person is in another country. We can't bring them over here and get them thrown in jail for scamming people. So we have to be very careful. But if it happens, stop the loss. Stop the loss. Oh my God, I sent this person $1,000. Well, okay, maybe at that point we look at the glass being half full, and at least I didn't send them $10,000, or keep sending them $1,000 until they've gotten $10,000 or more out of us. It was only $1,000. Lesson learned. I'll never do that again. We want to report it just in case we can, because who knows? Again, just like with identity theft, how a lot of times it's close at home, somebody that we know. Maybe this is this is the same thing. We certainly want to report it to the authorities, report it to the local police, maybe even the state police. Reporting it to law enforcement. Check your credit. Who knows what we could have given them in those exchanges? Check our credit. Do a credit check your credit report to make sure everything's in order. And if it's not, we have to do a credit freeze and then start to follow up on that and get our finances back in order. Keep a notebook and don't be embarrassed. Above all, don't be embarrassed. I can't believe I let this happen to me. I'm such an idiot. Now, some of the smartest, sharpest people out there have been and will be scammed. We just keep our guard up, and if it does happen, again, lesson learned, and hopefully we're not taken for much if it does happen. Here's some contact information for law enforcement resources. Local police department locator at policelocator.com/PA. Pennsylvania State Police, PA Attorney General. I'm going to have a little bit more information on the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office and the Federal Trade Commission. I'll give everybody a chance to copy down the police contact information, and then we'll move on to the next slide. Okay. State resources, Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. Our agency regulates those industries in Pennsylvania. If anyone ever has a question, a problem, an issue, a complaint, they can reach out to us. Say I'm having an issue with my local bank that's not getting resolved. I need to have it resolved. You can reach out to us. Maybe I was scammed. Cyber criminal got me. I don't know what to do. I forgot what that Dillman guy told me 8 months ago. If you remember anything, write down our number. You can reach out to us. We can help you. We can start the process. We can point you in the right direction. Our toll-free number, 800-PA-BANKS or 722-2657. You can also reach us through our website at dobbs.pa.gov. If you phone us, we have an in-house customer service staff that will take phone calls Monday through Friday during normal business hours, 8 to 5. If you call during those days and times, you should get a live voice answering the phone. If you don't get a live voice answering the phone, you leave a message and somebody should get back to you within 24 business hours. I stress business hours because if you call after 6 o'clock on a Friday evening, don't expect to get a call back until sometime after 8 o'clock Monday morning. Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office, we talked about them with cybersecurity. Certainly reach out to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office to report identity theft, so on and so forth. 800, and there's a lot of information on their website, a lot of good information. We have a lot of good information on our website as well in reference to what I like to call saving, investing, and protecting what you save and invest. Same thing with the Pennsylvania Attorney General's website. Again, toll-free number 800-441-2555. If again, my identity's stolen, I need to start the process to clear it up. I need to reach out to somebody. That's one entity we can reach out to, them and the Federal Trade Commission. One, it gives legitimacy to the fact that somebody else did this to me. I didn't do it, but also, and that's why we contact local law enforcement too. We contact local law enforcement to report it, and one of the reasons is to give legitimacy to the fact that somebody else did this. I didn't do it, because let's face it. If I ruined my own credit and I wanted to blame somebody else, the last place I'm going to call is local law enforcement. So we do that. We get a copy of the report that local law enforcement will create. So we can, and if anybody needs to see that to show, this isn't on us, this is on somebody else. We reach out to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office and the Federal Trade Commission because, again, it gives legitimacy, but also maybe this isn't local. Maybe this is part of a larger ring, and we may be able to give them information they can use for their investigation. They may be able to give us information we can use for our local investigation. But also we're helping them out. If you go to their websites, both their websites, they have a lot of information on scamming, identity theft, cyber security. We may be giving them information that they can post that they can use on their website to inform other consumers in the Commonwealth. Maybe this is a new scam that's out there and that we're not aware of, a new cyber scam, and we report it and they post it, and maybe a few other people have done it. They've reported it now. Hey, here's this new scam we have to be aware of, so on and so forth. Now with the Federal Trade Commission, I'll get to their contact information shortly, ftc.gov or identitytheft.gov. We can link to identitytheft.gov, or we could go directly to identitytheft.gov, which is overseen by the FTC. And there's a whole walkthrough process that we can do with them reporting identity theft. It's a whole checkoff section. What we need to do, how we need to do it, who we need to contact, how we need to contact them. If we need to write a letter, they'll tell us we'll need to write a letter. They'll give us sample letters that we can use. It's a great walkthrough process, and you create a report that way that you can print out, and you want to keep print out to keep just in case you need to show it to somebody to prove that, hey, I didn't do this, somebody else did. Here's my official report from the FTC, from identitytheft.gov, so on and so forth. We want to keep notes of everything too that takes place in case we need to refer back to them. Pennsylvania Department of State is another site, has a lot of good information on it. There's their toll-free number, 800-822-2113 or dos.pa.gov. Federal resources, we talked about the Federal Trade Commission, 877-987-3728, ftc.gov. There's the full address, but I think just ftc.gov gets us to the website. And again, if we're looking to report identity theft, we can link to identitytheft.gov, which is overseen by the FTC, or go directly to identitytheft.gov. And finally, U.S. Postal Inspection Service. Um, we need to be on the lookout. There's a lot of there's this thing called dumpster diving. We have to be careful with dumpster divers, people stealing information, and it's highly recommended that we shred this information. Likewise with mailboxes, there's the mailbox version of dumpster diving, people rifling through mailboxes looking for information they can steal. Those pre-approved credit card applications that some of us or a lot of us get. And we crumble it up and throw it away, and somebody fishes it out of the garbage. All they need to do is put in a new mailing address, and they get a credit card in our name that they get to rack to the hilt and not pay on, of course. And thank you very much. So in this case, they fish they fish that to pre-approved credit card application out of our mailbox. So if we suspect, experts highly suggest that we can utilize a locked mailbox. We do that. If we suspect mail theft, it is a federal offense. Certainly report it to the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and there's their contact information as well. I have questions and then my contact information. Anyone can feel free to reach out to me directly at my office number. And of course, you can reach out to us at through dobs.pa.gov.